Welcome back to Red Recapped. Today I'm going to describe a thriller movie called On the Line, released in 2022. Spoilers ahead. Watch out and take care. The movie starts with Elvis Cooney telling his daughter, Adrienne, a bedtime story. After making sure she's comfortable, he heads off to his job as a popular radio host at FM 100.3. He gives a nickname Bob to the security guard during a quick chat. Everything seems normal until a stranger arrives, making Elvis feel uneasy. This unknown man claims to have a shocking announcement, holding a small knife to his throat, setting the scene for a tense and mysterious encounter. As the tension rises, Elvis pretends to recognize him and suggests the stranger join his show, thinking it could be beneficial. However, the mysterious person leaves with a cryptic message, saying, "I love you, Elvis." Feeling uneasy, Elvis asks Bob to lock the door. His switchboard operator, Mary, updates him on the night's schedule, mentioning a comedian named James Steele who has a huge following. Elvis cheerfully tells his team about his birthday, but Mary corrects him, saying it's just 13 minutes away. Surprisingly, Dylan wishes Elvis a happy birthday, even though it's still 12 minutes away. Elvis realizes he doesn't know Dylan and Mary introduces him as the new team member starting tonight. The mystery deepens. Elvis then goes to the manager's office and gets some unpleasant news. His radio show isn't doing well, and the audience isn't staying engaged. Additionally, his social media presence is stale, with posts from 3 months ago. Elvis reacts with frustration and aggression, unhappy about this feedback. The manager also hints that if he doesn't improve, he might be replaced. Outside, he meets another radio host, Justin, who suspects Elvis is trying to take over his show. Elvis makes it clear he's interested in Justin's time slot, not his show. As Elvis's show begins, he introduces Dylan to the audience. He cracks some edgy jokes about Dylan, which seem to unsettle him. In a playful twist, he pretends to fire Dylan, only to call him back, revealing it was just a joke. The show continues with Elvis taking calls. The first caller, Emma, shares a heart-wrenching story of her husband leaving her after 17 years of marriage for someone else. Elvis suggests that jealousy might be the cause, offering advice and empathy to his listeners. After the call, Mary informs him that James Steele won't be able to join the show due to technical issues. Elvis doesn't seem too bothered by the change in plans. The next caller, Gary, initially stays silent, only breathing heavily. Elvis tries to engage him, asking how he's doing. Gary cryptically mentions that he's planning something unusual for the night, and abruptly hangs up. Elvis continues taking more calls, primarily from women, engaging in explicit discussions. It becomes clear that many women call in seeking answers from him. Eventually, Gary calls back, this time staying on the line. He reveals he's calling from Pasadena and cryptically mentions being in the garden of someone he deems worthless. The intrigue deepens as Elvis encounters this mysterious caller. Gary discloses his intention to ruin someone's life because they've ruined his. In a desperate attempt to prevent a tragedy, Elvis encourages him to believe in himself and reconsider his actions. Suddenly, a loud crash is heard, and Gary ominously states his intention to harm everyone. Elvis, still on the air, pleads with him not to proceed and inquires about Gary's location in Pasadena. Gary reveals he's at Arlington Garden, a seemingly pleasant area. To Elvis's shock, Gary discloses that he's at Elvis's house, holding a butcher's knife. In a frantic attempt to protect his family, Mary tries to disconnect the call and dial 911, but Gary insists that she doesn't hang up. Elvis, realizing the dire situation, has no choice but to end the call. In the background, he hears his daughter's voice, prompting him to implore Gary to leave her alone, while Mary urgently contacts the police. The tension rises as the situation becomes increasingly perilous. In a tense turn of events, a gunshot rings out, leaving Mary to inform Elvis that the police have arrived outside his house. She urgently instructs Elvis to keep Gary on the line. Elvis, desperate to understand why Gary hates him, asks this burning question. Gary, however, throws a surprising accusation at him, suggesting he's involved with Mary, his switchboard operator. He is taken aback and asks who Gary is and whether he's seeking money. Gary, disinterested in money, puts his wife on speakerphone, demanding to know if Elvis is in a relationship with Mary. Elvis is uncomfortable with the question and remains silent. Gary's frustration escalates, leading to gunshots fired at an unsightly poster on the wall. A terrified Elvis pleads with Gary, who persistently reiterates his query. Finally, Elvis concedes, admitting to being involved with Mary. Hoping this confession will lead to the release of his family, he He implores Gary to spare them. Gary, however, hints that he's not interested in a peaceful resolution and cryptically asks if Elvis knows someone named Lauren. As the tension continues to mount, Elvis quickly checks his phone, discovering there are multiple contacts named Lauren. With a sense of urgency, Gary's voice filled with distress, finally reveals it's Lauren Wounders, as in Wounders of the World. Elvis pieces together the connection, recognizing Lauren as Lily, a former switchboard operator who had worked for him for a brief period. Gary then discloses that he made insensitive and hurtful jokes with Lily, that he deeply regretted. He responds that it is all part of the performance. Gary, on the other hand, is not pleased, and invites him to the studio's patio with a member of his staff. Elvis asks Mary to bring Mike a headphone before heading to the terrace with his squad. Gary inquires as to whether he can see the ashtray. He worked there and watched Lauren weeping beside the ashtray all the time, and requests that he climb the wall while he constructs steps for him. Elvis agrees and climbs the wall. He appears to be terrified now. Gary informs Elvis that Lauren killed herself, jumping from the 5th story, and he wishes Elvis to do the same. In a desperate bid to save his family, Elvis adamantly refuses to jump. Gary then attempts to get Dylan to push Elvis off the ledge, but Dylan also declines to go along with the plan. To protect his loved ones, Elvis decides to fake the jump, creating the illusion that he's leaping from the building. Gary instructs Dylan to provide evidence that Elvis took the plunge, and Dylan, in an effort to deceive Gary, falsely confirms that Elvis has jumped. A moment later, a drone emerges, revealing that Gary has been monitoring the situation all along. With a heavy heart, Elvis offers an apology to Gary, and pleads for his family's safety. Suddenly, the sound of 2 gunshots pierces the air, leaving Elvis in stunned silence. He makes his way back to the studio, just as he receives a call from the police, leaving him visibly surprised. Mary asks Dylan to accompany Elvis, while she takes charge of closing down the studio. Elvis shares with Dylan that the police found no one at home, and there were no signs of forced entry. The shocking discovery of Bob's lifeless body in the lobby, with an ominous message, leaves them deeply unsettled. Gary calls once more through the central speaker, inquiring about their whereabouts, and revealing that Olivia and Adrian never made it into his car. He presses Elvis to get on the line, and participate in his twisted game, threatening the lives of his wife and daughter if he refuses. Under immense stress, Mary sends the microphone into the elevator, allowing Elvis to join the call just in time. Now connected, Gary discloses that he's still at Elvis's home, though not at the primary residence, but at a secondary location. He instructs Elvis to check his social media, where it's revealed that he has rigged explosives around the studio premises, creating a perilous and high-stakes situation. As the life-threatening situation unfolds, Gary makes a chilling promise: if they locate him, he won't detonate the explosives, but will solely focus on killing Elvis. Determined to save his family and end this dangerous game, Dylan and Elvis embark on a mission to find Gary. Suddenly, an assailant strikes Dylan from behind, but Elvis intervenes, revealing the attacker to be Tony, the guard. Elvis knows Tony well, and it becomes clear that Gary had manipulated Tony's presence at this crucial moment. In a twisted turn of events, Gary demands that Elvis kill Tony, since he wasn't initially part of the game. Elvis confronts Tony about why he's present when his shift typically ends at 10 p.m. It dawns on Elvis that Tony might be stealing from him. Still, Elvis, unwilling to take a life, instructs Tony to hide in the studio for safety. The search continues as Elvis and Dylan follow a lead, leading them to a storage room filled with toys. Elvis realizes that Gary is watching their every move through surveillance cameras, and instructs Dylan to cooperate and head to the basement, where they can't be observed. The suspense deepens as they navigate the dangerous game and try to outsmart Gary. Their search leads Elvis and Dylan to the security room, where they make a grim discovery: Justin is dead. Gary seizes the opportunity to switch places with Elvis, impersonating the radio host, to further complicate the situation. In response, Elvis heads to the lobby, taking a gun from the deceased guard. In a sudden twist, a police officer arrives, urging Elvis to drop the weapon. Complying with the officer's order, Elvis surrenders the gun. Just before the officer opens the door, Gary informs Elvis of a new rule: he has 10 extra minutes, but he must now work with numbers. He ominously mentions that Mary and Stephen are now his hostages. Faced with this terrifying challenge, Dylan successfully deciphers the code, saving Mary's life. With time ticking and danger mounting, Elvis and Dylan opt to use the emergency stairs, hoping to evade capture and outsmart their cunning adversary. The high-stakes game continues as they navigate the perilous situation. With their newly acquired 10 minutes, Elvis and Dylan find a concealed path back to the studio. However, when they reach the upper floors, they are confronted by a gruesome sight, Tony hanging lifeless in the hallway. Elvis manages to corner Gary, wielding a box cutter, but to their shock, Gary reveals that he possesses a dead man's switch, and that Olivia and Adrian are held on the terrace, with explosive vests strapped to their bodies. A tense call from Bruce, a member of the LAPD SWAT team, confirms that he's on the terrace, but unable to disarm the devices. In a horrifying turn of events, Gary demands a grim trade. He'll release Olivia and Adrian, in exchange for Dylan taking their place. Bruce is coerced into deactivating the explosive vests with Gary's assistance, and brings the two women down to the studio. Once Dylan is fitted with the deadly vests, Gary coldly shoots Bruce in the head. As everyone looks on in horror, Gary drops the dead man's switch, but to their relief, nothing happens. The life and death game takes a chilling turn, leaving everyone on edge. In a shocking turn of events, Elvis and Gary suddenly burst into laughter, embracing one another, as a bizarre twist reveals that everyone presumed dead has re-emerged, completely unharmed. It becomes evident that the entire situation was a colossal prank, orchestrated by the entire radio studio, with Dylan as the unwitting target. He's left utterly shocked and horrified. As Elvis clarifies the elaborate prank, attempting to elicit a reaction from Dylan, who leaves in stunned silence. Elvis and the crew pursue him out the door, offering him the microphone. But as Dylan takes a step back, he loses his balance, and tumbles down the stairs, his head impacting with a horrifying crack, resulting in a fatal injury. The next morning, a somber and guilt-ridden Elvis exits the studio, swearing off radio for good. However, it's revealed that Dylan, whose real name is Max, is a skilled stunt worker, who faked his own death. The entire ordeal was part of a grand prank orchestrated by the radio station to celebrate Elvis's birthday, an event they had pretended to forget. Elvis, happy to find Max okay, playfully cautions his colleagues to be ready for his next big prank. He suggests it will be even more surprising and elaborate. The story concludes here. Thanks for being with us. If you want more content like this, consider subscribing. Don't forget to hit the notification bell and give us a thumbs up to support the channel.